Welcome back to Safas Unscripted, episode number 50, boys. It is 50! An exciting one. Now, usually on a Wednesday, we have a match or a weekend preview, but it's episode 50. So we said, screw that. We're doing something fun. Okay. So welcome back for the 50th episode with Casual Bias, Brett Burns, and Brevan Herbst, the three boys. Before we get into it and explain what the video is about, boys, just say hello to the people. It's episode number 50, so we'll give you a little intro as well.
50 up. Hallelujah. Thank you, everyone, for your love and support thus far. We do love you. I know you guys don't always love us, but we love you. Thank you.
Yeah. Brett always gets you guys riled up with his controversial takes, and that's why we love him. But thank you guys for supporting us on this journey so far. We are literally so close to 500 subscribers. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We really appreciate you guys. And I mean, we literally started late 2023, and we've never missed a day of an upload yet. So, boys, I think we've done fantastically, and thank you to everyone that's watching. So let's get right into this.
Yeah, Brevan literally stole the line. I was going to say, listen, if you guys got a little gift for us, please just hit the like and subscribe button. That's the only thing that is still massive to us. We appreciate your love and support. Anyway, without any further ado, let's get into the video. So we took the world rankings, boys, and I'm going to name all 10 one by one, and we're going to say what the first memory of them is, or the first thought that pops into your head about these teams. So this could be what they mean to the game, a banter moment, or a great moment. So, for instance, if we bring out New Zealand, you can say it's the greatest team to ever live, or you can say, listen, they are the team that absolutely bummed us 53-7. Or what was the score? 60-0, 50-0.
57-0.
57-0. So, whatever it is that comes to your mind, you say that one. So, starting off, starting with the greatest team to grace this earth, the Springboks, who are ranked number 1, boys. Brett, what is the first thing that comes to mind?
Firstly, can we start from 10 and go to number 1?
No, because the banter is at the bottom.
Okay. Springboks, the team that's number 1. Obviously, that's at some point of my life, it was the reason for my existence. Springbok rugby is my be-all and end-all. Obviously, now that I have a family, that has changed, but it's life. Springbok rugby is life. And to say that we are 4 times world champions just makes me so happy. I'm even wearing Springbok underpants at the moment.
Off the Clark undies?
No, actual green with little yellow Springboks on.
Brett, I was going to ask you to show, but then I realized, listen, this is not OnlyFans. So it would have been a bit weird.
Yeah.
River.
Look, if you've seen any of my videos I've made after a Springbok game, you would know how much this team means to me, whether it's win or lose. This team means absolutely everything to me. And the first thing that just comes to my head when I think Springboks is just pride. I love this team so much. I can't show you now, but I'll send a picture to Casual Bias. You'll put it up there right now. It's a picture of my Springbok tattoo, literally World Cup. This team means everything to me. So, yeah, that's just everything.
The first thing that comes to my mind when I think Springboks is just Brevan crying every week during the Rugby World Cup. So, yeah, but I mean...
and we wouldn't have it any other way.
No, obviously. That was Brevan's selling point. When we pitched this idea to Brevan, he said, listen, I'm the guy that cries, and everyone needs someone that cries on camera. So, and then we were like, okay, yeah, cool. He fits the slot perfectly. No, but jokes aside, listen, for me, the Springboks is just unity, right? It's the one thing in our country that has so many issues and stuff that feels like it brings us all together, right? When we talk about the World Cup final and our victories, 4 times champions, it's just like we forget about all our political issues, for instance. We don't care. We are the most diverse country in the world. We forget about all our differences in terms of race, culture, all those type of things, and we come together. We wear the green and gold, and sometimes that shitty Checkers jersey. We wear it all at once, and we wear it with pride, right? So that is our thoughts on the Springboks. Now, moving on to the second place in the world at the moment, we got Ireland. It's Brett's family. We'll let Brevan go first. Brevan, break the ice.
Oh, I mean, look, and for goodness sake, it's the quarterfinal bottle jobs. I mean, sorry, Ireland, like you guys are finding your feet now. We know you're a good side, but realistically, every quarterfinal, it's just a bottle job. So maybe 2027, that curse breaks. You never know. But as for right now, it's the bottle job. So that can be my only first thought. But great team, great team.
Yeah, this is literally my heritage. The Crow family is from Ireland. It's what I've grown up with. I'm the only Springbok fan in my family, so this team is very near and dear to my heart. In terms of my dad and I, our biggest fights were Springboks or Ireland. One has very ugly green and one has beautiful, nice dark green. So that's always been the thing in our family. And then also, obviously, the bottle jobs in the quarterfinal, very relevant. I reminded my family about that every single World Cup. And every single World Cup, I'm blocked from the family group for about 4 or 5 weeks until the World Cup's over. So, yeah, Ireland's that team. That's all I can say about it. But then also they have a guy like Johnny Sexton that I absolutely despise. But other than that, they're quite cool. How about you, Casual?
It's so hard to disagree, right? Because it's like the quarterfinal curse just like pops out immediately for us, especially because we get a lot of banter from Ireland. Like if this was Irish people on the panel, they would probably say they are the daddies of Springbok rugby, right? Because we haven't beaten them in 8 years, is it? So it's perspective, okay? But this is Safas unscripted, so the main thing for us is, okay, we lost to them, so we'll just throw it back in their face and we'll say the quarterfinal curse. It's tough to really think about something else when something like that just pops out. Obviously, we'll, as Brevan said, we'll have to wait and see until 2027. They have looked unbeatable until they got smashed by England the past weekend. But yeah, that is the one thing that pops out. Moving on. Oh, Brett, you have something there.
Yeah, quickly. I read an article today where Rassi was talking about he'd rather experiment with teams and leading up to the World Cup, the 4 years, he'd rather experiment and lose all the games, but find combinations to win the World Cup other than having an 85% win ratio until the World Cup and potentially lose it in the quarterfinals. And we know exactly who he's aiming at. He didn't name names, but who bottles the quarterfinals and who has an 85% win record every single time.
That's just as well to say, listen, I really dislike the guy with red hair sitting in the middle of the screen without saying I don't like Brett.
Exactly.
Pretty straightforward on that one. Moving on, we got a lot of people would say the best country to ever play the game. We got New Zealand. Brett, do you want to break the ice on this one?
Sure. Actually, yes. New Zealand, like some of the players I've looked up to, some of the players, they've always been, for me, some of the most overrated players in the world come from New Zealand. And they, just because they're in a great system and a very, very strong winning culture, those players have shone on for time. It's going to be an endless time that these people will be mentioned, but I'm not going to mention them. I'm just going to say that New Zealand is not only the best rugby team in the world.
He's talking about Will Jordan.
Actually talking about Richie McCaw, but yes, Will Jordan as well. But New Zealand's not only the best rugby team in the world. New Zealand is, without a doubt, in the last 100 years, the best sports team in the world when it comes to win ratio. So they are the be-all and end-all, and there's nothing else to say. Oh, and they also like bottling it to South Africa in World Cup finals.
First thing I think of when I think New Zealand is got to be, it's Casual Bias's favorite 2 words. It's his catchphrase. It's rugby heritage. New Zealand is the All Blacks are rugby. Sorry, man, but they are rugby heritage. If you think about rugby, you 60% or 65% of the time you're going to think of the All Blacks. The other 35 or 40%, I think, on the Springboks. But look, that, like Brett said, they are, if you think of the greatest sports team for the last however many years it is the All Blacks. I mean, obviously in the past few years, I feel like a lot of the nations have caught up with them and it's become a bit more at an even playing field. But before then, they were so dominant. And yeah, I mean, if you think of rugby heritage, you think of the All Blacks.
Yeah, I fully agree. There's a couple of things when it comes to New Zealand that really stands out. Like as you guys mentioned, like the greatest team to probably grace this earth, sports team. Not even just in terms of rugby, as Brett mentioned, that win ratio is absolutely insane. But the one thing that really stands out for me is the setting the example in terms of how to play some flary running rugby. Like in terms of excitement, they really bring excitement to the game. Doesn't matter who they play, they don't really change their style. It's always when you watch the All Blacks, you never think, listen, they are down and out of this game. That you're always going to be entertained watching that game, whether they win or lose. So I can't do anything else than put respect on their name, because when you think about it, like as Brevan said, it's rugby heritage, right? South Africa versus New Zealand, probably one of the biggest rivalries in sport, if not the biggest. I think it's really up there in terms of world sport rivalries. It's pure rugby heritage. We love and adore New Zealand, but they are also our biggest rival. So we also hate them to our inner core, just because of the rivalry. So the standouts for me is just rugby heritage, as Brevan said, and then the flair and the pace of the game that they bring.
Yeah, I just want to add, the first memory I'll ever have of casual bias, obviously the three of us come from a different social media platform, and the first memory I'll ever have of casual bias is his video he makes about how he banters the All Black starting lineup before we face them at, I can't remember where it was. He made a video where he bantered them. And he said, this team is useless. But I know, obviously, it's just banter. He wasn't being serious. And I'll just never forget we lost. And the backlash he got was just, it was insane. One of the first memories I'll ever have.
New Zealanders are passionate, right? Because before that, I probably got about 1,000 views per video. That one boosted up to like 100,000. And the backlash one went up to 200,000. And I was just like, oh my goodness, there's no hiding from this place. They only have about 200,000 people in the country. It was absolutely ridiculous. Oh yeah, and by the way, another standout point, they also gave us a spanking. That 57-0, absolutely ridiculous. That's also, you gotta face it. It is one of those standout games, one of those standout moments. Now moving on to position number 4, we got the French, and I will go first on this one. There's two things that really stand out, right? First, they've got this coach with the goggles. It looks like he's diving in the deep sea. I mean, seriously, what the hell is even going on there? And then secondly, it's an underrated opinion, and it's really standing out for me, is everyone's talking about Australia. I think the French had the biggest drop-off in rugby history in the shortest amount of time. It's really something that's been playing on my mind, and I'm still calling it. I don't care if you lost 2 players, you don't drop off like that. We lost how many players before the World Cup, and yet we still won it. Yeah, Andre Pollard came back. We still had a ton of injuries, and we didn't drop off like that. That is a ridiculous drop-off that they had.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I'm going to give you 2 or 3 just first things that pop to mind, and they're not positive. One, they are the biggest sore losers I know in rugby, and it's unfortunate because, look, we have banter with the Irish fans, we have banter with the All Blacks fans, we have banter with all the fans around the world. But the French fans and the French team took that loss to the extreme, and it was just disgraceful. So that sore losers.
Your captain comes out and talks like that is ridiculous.
Yeah, and obviously, I think we talk about Ireland being bottle jobs. I think for a team that was considered favourites, I think they deserve the same kind of treatment because they also were favourites going into this World Cup. They've bottled it in the final as well before, after dominating the All Blacks. And yes, like we just said, the All Blacks are the greatest side, but realistically, the French were on top of that game when they lost to the All Blacks and they threw it away. So, yeah, obviously a great side, but if I have to think, first thing that comes to head is just sore losers.
Well, I actually have a completely different take to you guys, like almost the opposite. When we spoke about flair in the All Blacks lineup, I think that the French, I mean, look at all the World Cups that they've played in. They've had some of the probably the best tries in World Cup history from flair, scoring from nothing and scoring 80, 90-meter tries. Guys like Freddie Michalak, that the smallest fluff in the world that destroyed teams. A Morgan Parra back in the day. I mean, these are guys that are, and in my opinion, a player that plays in the same position, but for me was better. A Thierry Dusetois. I mean, in the same World Cup year, they've lost to Tonga and played in the final of the World Cup against the All Blacks. I mean, they are the most hot and cold team that exists, but you can never underestimate that team. They will. This is not. I'm not talking about this year. I'm talking about in history. I mean, they will literally lose to Tonga and then almost beat the All Blacks in a World Cup final.
8-5, right?
Yeah, exactly. So this is insane. This French side is I have such a soft spot for them. Always have been, probably always will, except for not this year. This year they've actually been very, very disappointing. And yes, they bottled it completely, going from they have not recovered. Let's just say 2024, they have not recovered from that semi-final loss. Other teams have moved on, but they haven't.
Before we move on, I actually, while you guys spoke, thought about something else. And I actually wish I made this my point. A standout thing is almost a stat for them. They are the team that has lost the most in the World Cup against the eventual winners of the World Cup. It is a crazy amount of times that they have been knocked out or lost in the pool stages or wherever to the team that has eventually gone on to win the World Cup. I think they've lost like 8 or 9 times, where the second most was about 5 times, which is ridiculous stat. I wouldn't say unlucky because, like, obviously you need to beat them to win the World Cup, but it's still a crazy stat in terms of the level differences in it. Moving on to number 5. We're going to love this one, boys, because we can pick and choose from a million different ones. We can pick, do we go on 2023?
I'm going first.
Do we go on 2019? Do we go on 2007? Do we talk about like this revenge story that they had in 2021 and then just lost it the next year again? We got England, baby. Brevan, take us away.
32-12, baby. Oh, sorry. I had to say it. I mean, one of my best friends is English.
It's a standard one, so there's nothing wrong with saying that. I mean, it's literally the thing that we use to banter the teams.
I mean, literally, I mean, when we go into, but also in this World Cup, I was there saying, like, listen, these oaks are feisty for us. They want, and everyone was like, no, we're going to smash. I mean, you were one of them, Casual. We're going to smash them. We're going to smash. I'm like, Oaks, just chill. And we almost did lose it. I mean, eventually, obviously, I mean, the passion just brought us through. Andre Pollard kicking like a demon. But yeah, I mean, if the first thing that comes to my mind is literally the World Cup final. I even remember 2007, but I think 2019 was just, it was pure cinema. I mean, we walked into that game as underdogs. No one expected us to win. And we went up there and just absolutely blew it out of the park. So 32-12 is probably the best one for me.
Okay, I'll go last.
Okay. So as Brevan just said, right? I was out there and I said, listen, England, I might be undershooting you, but the boys running on the field, they are not underplaying you because they'll be focused running out on the field. And I nearly had to eat my words there because I was very cocky going into that game. I was literally like, we are your daddy. that was the exact words. It's rugby heritage, right? That we just beat the English. But saying all that, with all the stuff that I mentioned, right, I can only come to one conclusion. If you think about 2023, you think about 2022, you think about 2019, you think about 2007, you think about that comeback victory that we had against England when they toured here. I only came to one conclusion, and it's plain and simple, and it is correct. If you disagree, you're wrong. we are England's daddy. That is the takeaway that I have from England, is that the South Africans are the English daddy. Now, obviously, I need to change my opinion, seeing that I might just marry an English girl, but it is one of those things. For now, I can still say we are their daddy.
You're gonna keep on saying that because nothing changes when you get married. Yeah, but I do want to, however, say that we need to thank the English for inventing this beautiful game that we love so much.
True story.
Yeah, they actually. Do you guys know how South Africa got introduced to rugby? It was the English troops in Cape Town that taught our troops how to play rugby, because they learned it obviously in England and they were stationed here in Cape Town, Cape Point, and they taught us how to play rugby. So, and then we became their daddy. But I must, however, say that my hero, well, one of my heroes, for me, the GOAT of rugby, Johnny Wilkinson, he comes from England. He revolutionized fly-offs for me forever. And I think that we do owe England some respect. But yes, I do like that in 2007, in the pool stage, we beat them 36-0. And then in the second half of that game, we literally gave them the ball so we can practice our defense. And that is a true story. So, yeah, we actually.
By the way, Johnny Wilkinson is Brett's daddy.
Yeah, that's just my. But also, England also has a very soft spot in my, obviously, family, because my mom was born in England. So, like you guys know, the England-Ireland game is always a close one to me, and the English side also. Before I became the social media person, I had a very soft spot for England. Now, when I got to meet their fans, I just realized, oh wait, they're actually, wow.
Yeah, I mean, if there's 4 teams that I really just want to continuously be the best, it would probably be Australia, New Zealand, the Springboks, and England. Those 4 for me are just the 4 teams that really, I mean, they're the World Cup winners, all of them. So those are the teams that we really want to be up there. I mean, we know a game against England, whether it's at Twickenham or back here in South Africa, it's massive because we have a lot of people that move from England to South Africa and vice versa. A lot of people from South Africa that move to England. So, I mean, yeah, I really love that game between the Springboks and England as well. So
I'll go first on the next one. We got Scotland, and there's only one thing that springs to mind, and that is South Africa A. I don't think I need to explain it. I think it's plain and obvious, the reasoning behind it. I mean, if you have a team, right, which is not South Africa, and your best player is from South Africa, it's South Africa A. Correct. And
Yeah.
Kyle Steyn. And then I'm claiming Hugh Jones as a South African as well. The guy played for the Storm. And Pierre Skuman. There you go, like a third of the team, literally South Africans. There you go. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Scotland is A.
Nah, you know what? This, like, Brett has his soft spots for Ireland and England. This is my soft spot because of family. And I will give them the greatest national anthem to ever grace the planet. That I'll give them. The best national anthem I've ever heard in my entire life. It's an anthem sung, the Scottish anthem sung by Murrayfield, especially when they play the English. It is something to just, you sit still and you pay attention. But then again, yes, I think they are South Africa A. But obviously, I'll give them their respect where they deserve it. So, yeah.
I completely agree about the national anthem. I think that gives me chills, and it's literally on my bucket list that I want to watch a Springbok test match at Murrayfield, listening to the national anthem, because everybody that plays there, they give them their respect, they keep quiet, and they just listen because it's amazing. But when I think of Scotland, I think of a certain player, Gavin Hastings, was deemed one of the best kickers in history. I think he had a 96% percentage for kicking. And in the 91 World Cup, he missed the kick right in front of goal. Like, as in right in front. Like, my 2-year-old daughter could kick it over. And he missed it. And that's just nobody's going to know Gavin Hastings as one of the greatest kickers in the world. They're going to remember him as one of the good kickers that missed right in front to lose the game for Scotland in a quarterfinal. So, and then his son went on to play for Scotland. So, yeah. So that's just my take on Scotland. That's all. That's my memory for them.
I'll just fly through the next one, right? It's Argentina. And Brett said France are the most unpredictable up and down team. I'm giving that award to Argentina. Because the standout moment for me is when they made history and beat New Zealand in New Zealand with a great game. And then the next game went on to lose by 50 points. 10 kilometers down the road. Still in New Zealand. You make history and win the game. People hyping you up. Listen, has Argentina got the upset victory in them to actually chase down the rugby championship? And then you go on to lose the next game, 50-0. No, thank you. Up and down. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, if I think of Argentina, I mean, they can share this award with the Italians as well. I mean, I think of passion. I'm a very passionate country. But at the same time, I think Argentina, I mean, as much as they shouldn't win a World Cup, I mean, obviously you never know, but they shouldn't be the team to win a Rugby World Cup. But saying that, how many times have Argentina, like you said, have looked fantastic? Like you think, oh my goodness, they could probably make it possibly to a final. You never know. Then they rock up to a World Cup and they look terrible. I mean, the English beat them twice in this past World Cup. And realistically, the way the English were playing, Argentina should have beat them. I mean, Argentina going into the World Cup were looking strong. So also one of those teams, when it's World Cup time, it's almost like they go back into their shell type of thing. So that's also another thing for me.
Yeah, I have some players that I really enjoyed throughout the years, like a Contepomi that played for Argentina that for me should have played a whole lot longer, although he was like a 50-year-old or whatever. But I enjoyed him. And then I when I think of Argentina pre-2000, shall we say, pre-2019, probably one of the strongest scrums in world rugby. Like, teams were always threatened by they have to face the Argentine scrum. And I would just like that to come back. I wish they would work on that again and get those big mother truckers. Because, yeah, that's quite a cool legacy to have.
Okay. Moving on. We got Wales. Does any of you want to take the floor? Should I go?
I'll go.
I've got two standouts, so you better not mention either one of the two.
I can't go because mine is very controversial and I might get this page banned, so you guys can go.
Okay, I'll go first. I've got two standouts, right? First one, if I think about Wales rugby, I think Warren Gatland. I think of a team that plays for their coach. He gets the best out of them. I know they didn't get the results in the Six Nations and stuff, but I still think he's a great coach that has probably made the most history for Wales rugby, right? That's like the standout thing when I think about Wales is just, I think when I see Wales, I just think Warren Gatland. Wales without Warren Gatland is, I don't know what, dog shit. Secondly, for some reason, it's just like when I see Wales, I think fly-offs. They've had some good fly-offs over the years, isn't it? Stephen Jones, James Hook, Dan Bigger. Wasn't that, was it Henson? I remember him from Rugby 8.
He was a 12.
I was just going to ask, did he also play 10? Because I know he played 12 as well, but I wondered if he played 10 as well. But just like stand out in the past, let's say 20 years, absolutely brilliant fly-offs that played continuously for the British and Irish Lions and so all represented there. So Warren Gatland and fly-offs.
Cool.
Yeah, look, I mean, this is going to sound like I am the biggest noob ever, but when I think of Wales, I just think of their Isuzu logo on their shirt. I mean, there's not much more to think of Wales. Look, Wales, okay, if I think of Wales, let's be a bit more analytical here. If I think of Wales, I think of a team that can be so good yet so boring at the same time. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. Like, they can be a really good side, but while they're being really good, they are really boring. I mean, it was like 2019 semi-final. Both teams there, very boring rugby, but both very good teams. I mean, both teams easily could have made it to that final. I mean, obviously we did in the end, but Wales were right on our tracks the whole game. It was a very close game. So one of those teams where, like I say, they can be really good but boring at the same time.
Yeah, I think of Wales and I look back at around 2003, that era, where I think 11 players in their team had the surname Jones. And then the very next week, I think like another 11 had the surname Williams. So that's all I can think of when I think of Wales. No, I'm joking. Also, fly-offs.
It was an interesting one. I liked it.
Big thing. Fly-offs. Very, very good point that you raised there. But also a bit of a. I looked up to a player like significantly, Gareth Thomas. Always, when he scored a try, he never had any teeth, and he always used to hit his head. He was their outside centre and their captain for a very long time. And then the second he retired, he left his wife and 4 kids, and he got himself a husband. So it was a bit of a shock to the system, but nevertheless, it is what it is. It's his choice. But that's when I think of Wales, I think of, well, there goes your legacy.
Wow. Okay. Crazy. I'm surprised none of you actually mentioned Wales feels like a team that always plays the same teams in the Rugby World Cup. Like, they always play South Africa. They didn't play us this time, but they always play Australia. It feels like they always play Fiji in the World Cup.
Fiji, yeah.
It's just like I always feel like I'm watching Wales versus Australia. It feels like it's an everyday game. Yeah, so I'm just surprised no one mentioned that one. Just threw it out there. And then the second to last team, we're getting to the end of it. We got Italy. And the first thing that comes to mind is, especially a game in Italy, is passion. Like, Brevan would fit in perfectly with all the emotions running wild, people crying, big men crying. Just look at this past weekend. Obviously, they made a bit of history, but they like a bit of crying. Like, people would say Italy with their hands and stuff. But wow, there's a lot of emotion on that field. And I love it. I'm all here for it. We love a bit of passion and emotion shown in our sport, which is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, go for it, Brent.
You can go.
Okay. If I think Italy, I mean, straight up, that comes to mind is passion. I mean, there's no team. Obviously, we know the Springboks play for something bigger than themselves. We know every team has their own type of passion. We know the English get fired up for every decision that goes their way. Like, we know a lot of these teams have passion, but the Italians are on a different level. When you hear them sing their national anthem, they sing it from the chest. Like, they sing it from like deep within, and they're so proud of their heritage. And so that's obviously the first thing that comes to my head. But if I think as well, like when it comes to like the game of rugby, I think it's a country that has so much potential, but they just don't have the depth to get them where they want to be. I mean, the Italians, they literally, I mean, we've seen it for the past 2 weekends in a row against the French and against Scotland. They have what it takes to compete, but then again, next week, I mean, when they face Wales, it could be a 50 points on the card. You never know. So that's the thing with Italy.
Yeah, my oldest memory of Italy was when the Springboks beat them. I think it was in 94, 95. Beat them 101-0. And I always thought that was always like my fallback. Like, South Africa beat Italy 101-0. And then also in my lifetime, South Africa lost to Italy. So it's also, for me, they've obviously improved. It only took them like 40 years, but they improved. But also, I agree with their passion and everything. But I think that they need their government to get behind them, because Italy's football is massive, and That's where all their funding goes. And I think that Italy's rugby could be at a whole different level if there was some more interest.
Yeah, well, we will see how they kick on after this past 2 weekends of performances. Maybe the country gets behind them a bit more, and they get that financial backing into their rugby, especially like at grassroots and stuff. Now, moving on to the final team, boys. There's a lot to talk about. You can talk about glory and you can talk about shame. We got Australia, one of the rivals, one of the rugby championship boys. Usually
I'll go last.
Usually in the top 3. They are 10th. They scraped in. I think Japan's 11th, and they're close. We could have put in Japan as well. Upset victories in World Cups. They beat South Africa and they beat Ireland. Okay, cool. There we go. We just did Japan as well. But Australia, Brevan, are you going with the positive or the negative?
I'm going to go with a good positive childhood memory. Let's do that. Obviously, it's too obvious to say one of the biggest drop-offs in rugby history. I mean, that's pretty obvious. But I enjoyed it. Just it doesn't feel this. I don't know if it's because I've grown up but I used to like wake up at like 9 o'clock in the morning as a kid, and you knew you were playing Australia at like 11:30, and life was good, man. Like you got a midday braai going, you were with your family. And always those games, and you always used to get disappointed because the Boks always, for some reason, lost to Australia within Australia. So, but that was such a good childhood memory. I mean, just waking up, being able to watch those games, and obviously, I've been to a few Springbok versus Australia tests here in South Africa as well. And yeah, it's just a good, positive childhood memory. So yeah.
Okay, so. Standout, Eddie Jones. You can't really talk about Australia without talking about Eddie Jones, right? Obviously, the biggest drop-off, as well as Brevan said. Those early mornings, absolutely beautiful. If I think about all positive things about Rugby Australia, I think about Rugby League. It is absolutely ridiculous. There's nothing positive in the rugby union at the moment. But the standout thing for me is pretty straightforward. Obvious. You can have your opinions about it. I really don't care what your opinion of it is, positive or negative. The standout thing about Australian rugby is the Israel Folau saga. It is up there. It was the biggest news not even in rugby, probably in the world, the whole saga. So that is the standout thing for me with the Israel Folau, with the religion, and then obviously with the with pride coming along with it, and him condemning people. As I said, have your opinion about it, but that is the standout.
I was hoping that that you would have gone on a completely different route, because that was literally my topic. But also I want to add that Australia literally ruled the 90s. There was no team with the Larkhams, the Lathams, the Mortlocks, the George Gregans, you name it. They had everybody that you feared in world rugby. And I did not like playing against Australia in the 90s. I mean, Stephen Larkham never made a drop goal in his entire life. And then he makes one in the quarterfinal of 1999 to get South Africa out of the World Cup. So that also irritates me. But Australia was a very, very feared team. The All Blacks will tell you the same. And when those generational players went away, other sports took over in Australia and their rugby just fell off. And obviously, me being as religious as I am, I do feel that the Israel Folau, who I thought was probably still will be the best fullback in the world, the way they treated him just shows that they don't give a rat's ass about a player as long as their sponsors are happy. And that just threw them under the bus, and it's absolutely disgusting. And yay, Israel Folau.
Also a standout that I kind of forgot about. My favorite commentators in the world listening to is the Australian commentary team.
Yes.
People would hate them because they're very biased, but I think that's what makes them absolutely amazing. I love listening to them. if we lose, I hate them even more. But when we are winning against Australia, I love listening to those guys. You can hear the emotion coming out of them. You can hear how angry they are over the mic, which is absolutely brilliant. Something that just like slips under the radar. Anyway, people, that is us for episode 50. Once again, thank you very much for always being here with us, liking and subscribing. Boys, I know usually we just end it here. Do you guys want to have any last words before we end it to the people of the audience? It's a half century. We got to have a proper send-off.
Yes, because I thought that when I saw us approaching 40 minutes, I thought that let's push it for 50 minutes because we on episode 50, we might as well make it 50 minutes. But I don't think I can ramble on anymore for another 10 minutes. But yes, from my side, it's a massive honor to be part of this. I think that this was probably one of the best ideas. Brevin and I threatened to start this thing, and we just never did. And then you came along and threatened, and we never started it. And eventually, the three of us just decided, you know what, F this, let's go. And so the brainchild, Sapphirs Unscripted, was born, and we're in episode 50, and I'm so excited about it. I can't wait until we do episode 500.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to say, balloons, great. I mean, you're like the king of emojis on this thing. But yeah, I mean, just a reference to the good old Eddie Jones. I mean, I can't even do my Aussie accent. I'm terrible at this. So I was going to say, we don't do this for the croissants, mate, you know? But whatever. But we do this because we love you guys. But but thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you. And the more you just keep on liking and subscribing, I mean, if you haven't subscribed, please do, because we really enjoy doing this for you guys. And yeah, so thank you so much. And yeah, that's all I can really say is we're humble and we really appreciate you guys.
Brevin just brought up a nice little point there with the croissants thing, because then the memes came out and it said, like, I guess you really did only come for the croissants, mate. it was absolutely golden. But thank you very much, everyone, for joining. We will see you next time. Friday's episode, preview of the Six Nations. As you know, Brett will be very unenthusiastic when it comes to that episode, but we will bring energy. Thank you very much, everyone.
Come on, England.
And goodbye.